The NBA postseason is underway. That means the Blazers offseason is underway. We have lottery news. We're going to talk a little Damian Lillard, who's back from a blood clot scare. And we are going to narrow our Blazer talk mainly to the forward position as we do our offseason reviews position by position, starting with the forwards, which means my main man, Craig Birnbach, who joins me, Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian on the Blazer Focus podcast, is going to just saturate this thing with sugar and spice and everything nice, and rainbows and lollipops and gumdrops for his boy Denny. Of course, I'll try to do the same for my boy Ant when we get to guards, but
my guy was better.
See, it's already starting with lies.
That's not a lie. That's not a lie.
Who averages more points? Ant.
Sure, please. You're going to pick one statistic? Let's go with all the others. Who averaged more rebounds? Who plays defense?
Oh, come on.
We'll get there.
All right. We'll have grade. We're going to grade the forwards as well, which is always arbitrary, subjective, and silly, but fun. All right.
And worth nothing, but why not?
Yeah, but hey, we got nothing else to do. We got nothing else to do for the next 6 months, right? Oh, I guess with the lottery, we got the draft, and we got Summer League, so we don't have nothing to do, but we're going to try and milk this stuff as much as we can. All right. First things first, Blazers lose some ping pong balls. They finished tied for ninth with Phoenix, which means they had to split the percentages available for each spot. Then they do a drawing. It's not even a coin toss. I was told it's a coin toss. I guess it hasn't been a coin toss for a while. That seems more exciting, and that should have been televised personally. But they did a drawing, and the Suns won. So that means the Suns have a 3.8 chance of landing the number one pick and getting Cooper Flag. However, their pick goes to Houston because it originally belonged to Brooklyn, which acquired it from the Suns in the big Durant, Mikal Bridges trade. So the Houston Rockets,
because Houston needs more young talent.
Because Houston needs more talent.
They do. Well, they might not even, that guy might not even make the roster. Sorry, right. Cooper, we don't have any room. Cooper.
Unless it's we're gonna trade the pick, bro.
The G League. I hope you enjoy the G League.
He needs to get some seasoning. Okay, the Blazers then are at 3.7% at getting number one, and 16.9, I believe, for landing in the top four. So not great, but not horrible. The 16.9, 17%. That's not. I mean, that's not awful. You know, that's a chance. That's something.
That is definitely a chance. It's almost 20%. So that means 2 out of every 10. Almost 2 out of every 10.
No. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah, I know math.
No, not 2 out of every 10. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, man.
I was 17 out of every 10. I was rounding up to give us a better feel.
It'd be 2 out of 10, 1 out of 5. I was trapped on 1 out of 5. Okay. Anyway, same thing. Okay, so that's not horrible. Like, it's a chance to get into the top four. So you know,
so you're saying there's a chance.
Just saying there's a chance. Oh my God, one of the greatest. What are the chances of a guy like me and a girl like you? About 1,000,000 to 1. So you're saying there's a chance. Dumb and Dumber, classic, comedy classic. All right, we're smarter than them, hopefully. But anyway, all right. So whatever. It's such as life. The bottom line is, we're not going to talk about this today. They should have had a higher percentage and all this stuff instead of messing around, winning games they shouldn't have been winning. But that's another story for another day, and one that we've beaten into the ground for 2 months. All right.
Yep.
We have nothing really more to add to that. It's just
I mean,
the
they
lottery's
lost,
made
but
12.
To me, I'd still rather be the Blazers than the Suns in that situation.
Well, you don't even have the pick.
We won. Oh no, we don't keep the pick. Oh no.
But here's the thing. Just the bottom line is, had you finished ninth, you would have had a 4.5% chance. If the Houston Rockets leap into the top four, an already good playoff team with a lot of good young players, leaps into the top four to come away with another stud, and you're the Blazers and you're sitting there and maybe you even fall to like 11 or 12 or whatever, that's the kind of stuff that just really hurts the overall situation for you, because you're chasing Houston amongst a bunch of other teams. So
they also could get Cooper Flag.
Now, if the Houston Rockets get Cooper Flag, along with what OKC's got and what other, then it's just, if you're the Blazers, I would honestly sit here and say that they're not going to have a chance to contend in the West for at least 10 years. At least. But anyway, that's another story. All right. So, moving on to other things. Someone who does have a chance to contend is Damian Lillard.
Yeah, he's back. He's back, baby.
He's back from his blood clot, which scary situation in his calf. He thought he had a calf strain, missed a few games, and they determined it was a blood clot. Those things can end your career. They can have lifelong lasting health impacts, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, in our world, it hits, because of course, Jerome Kersey,
right,
had a blood clot situation and lost his life. So those things, there's a reason why they shut him down and shut him down fast.
Right.
And put blood thinners on, and you can't play when you're on blood thinners for obvious reasons. So in reading, doctors are saying they never seen healing this fast with Damian Lillard. So it's great to hear that he's off the blood thinners and going to play some ball.
Yeah. And he's feisty. I don't know if you saw the clip
from
game 1.
Yeah.
They got smoked by Indiana. In part without Dame, of course. But Indiana's
tough. Don't walk
tough.
up on Damian Lillard. Don't walk up on Damian Lillard.
But Dame walked on the court.
I know. Walk away.
John, and then Dame walks on the court, and they're talking, and it was clear to me he said something like, "Don't do it again," or something like that. And then he said, "I'll beat your ass."
Yeah, he did. And he's right. I mean, Halliburton's skinny. I don't think he trains.
Dame, exactly. I don't think he trains
Dame
boxing
does in the gym.
Yeah, right.
Dame,
right.
I mean, people probably know, but if you don't know, there's really no bigger boxing fan than Damian Lillard. I mean, he watches every fight. He is more active on social media during fights than the NBA playoffs. Absolutely. Like, he talks about boxing like all the time, and he trains.
In the
ring.
So, yeah.
He grew up in Oakland.
And he grew up in Oaktown.
He don't mess with him.
I lived in Oaktown for 5. I lived in Chicago and Oaktown and old school Northeast Portland. I keep trying to tell people not to mess with me, but they don't.
You wear glasses, no one believes it.
Exactly. And I'm a big Michael Jackson fan. They're like, "Oh, the guy with the glasses, the Michael Jackson fan who can Milwaukee." I'm scared of that guy. But I'm telling you, man, straight Oaktown.
We're old.
Right?
We're old.
and I'm old.
Let it go.
I could punch myself. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, I mean, look, Dame. It's not like Dame's a fighter or fighting, right? But any elite level athlete who is training to do anything martial arts wise or boxing wise, they're gonna have some things in their bag, right? They're gonna have some mobility, some head movement they've been working on that you, as just a dude, just don't have. Like there's levels to these things. There's skills that you acquire. So yeah, Halliburton backed away. Not that anyone's gonna let them fight or anything, but
no, it's the NBA. Yeah, we know what happens in those fights.
If I'm in the NBA and I'm larger than Dame, I'm not worried about it. If I'm the same size as Damian and I know he's training boxing and maybe I don't have that type of background, then I'm gonna be strategically leery about squaring up with him because the skill set cannot be good for you. But let's just hope that Dame doesn't start the game tonight at 4:00 with, revisiting that moment. But it was hilarious. I love it when NBA players go at it, or any athletes, really. It's just funny to watch them talk trash to each other.
The playoffs are awesome because there's tons of
emotion,
chippiness, and
that's what you need,
Detroit
man.
Knicks.
It's fun. Every series should begin with an almost fight.
That
should be mandatory. Right. In the first half, there's an almost fight to set the tone. So let's go to this. They're down 1-0, but Dame's back. You got Giannis. Can they win this series? This will be the first time they played in the playoffs together because Giannis missed all 6 games of their loss to Indiana last year, and Dame had some injuries issues as well. Do you see Damian and the Pacers pulling out the series? Excuse me, the Bucks.
Yeah. I mean, they have the best player. So that's usually, you get that. And Damian Lillard's, the hard part, he hadn't played in a month. And he dropped into a game 2 after not playing in a month. And Damian Lillard's always in great shape, but it's still not game shape. I can't imagine him playing 35 minutes, you know what I mean? he's could be the second best player in the series. So that usually bodes well for you.
It does.
And so yeah, obviously I think they can win the series. I think they're going to win the series. But it's going to go 6 or 7 games, and anything can happen. You watch games like last night. There's 2 games that came down to the wire, and there were shots that went in and out. You know what I mean? Like wide open threes. If one of those goes down, the entire it changes. So that's what makes it great. And so they could lose the series, but I would pick them to win it now because you're getting Damian Lillard back. You know what I mean? You're not getting a bench player back. You're getting the guy that averages 27 points a game, and you have to guard 35 feet out. And we know if Giannis has space, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Sometimes I forget how good Giannis is because I don't watch you don't get to watch a lot of Buck games necessarily, and then you watch, you're like, oh, damn. Like he's like when he goes off, he's unguardable, and yeah, so I'm going to pick the Bucks. You?
I'm going to pick them, but I'm not sure how convinced I am that they're going to win. Pacers have home court advantage. They now have the 1-0 lead. Dame's not going to be 100% but I would just like to see Damian get a look at.
Absolutely.
And a look means everyone's healthy. Last year was ruined because Giannis was out. Yep. This started off poorly because he was out. Just he's always just wanted a chance. He hasn't really had a chance since 2019, and that wasn't really a chance because there's no way they were going to beat the Warriors.
And the Clippers basically, the Clippers didn't have any. You almost started injuries for the Clippers.
Yeah.
My God, everybody, Chris Paul out. Everyone just went. Griffin got out. It was not. They didn't play a Clippers team. There's a reason why they made it to the Western Conference Finals that year. They played really well, and they got lucky.
Was that the same? Wait, was that the same? Yeah. They played the Clippers that year?
Yeah.
I thought they beat the Clippers, but in the first round, the year they beat the Clippers in the first round, they were done the next round. The year they beat OKC in the first. No, they beat OKC in the first round.
Yeah.
To go to the West Finals. So it was the bye-bye year.
Oh yeah, the bye-bye. Yeah, look at me.
That's the bye.
Stuff. I was just there.
I don't think they had Clippers in the second round. Anyway, regardless, he's never really, and I don't really think they're going to be able to beat Boston if they met up with Boston and down the road. But just to be healthy and just play, just play with nothing else taking away from it. He's said that numerous times, and in my conversations, he's like, if we go out there,
just give me a chance.
I have a healthy team, I have a legit team, and we lose, I can walk away and be like, we lost, we didn't get it done. He just wants that opportunity. So hopefully it works out and they can be healthy and participate fully in this series, and we'll see what happens. Okay, last thing. Should Blazer fans be rooting for the same? I mean, shouldn't Blazers fans be living vicariously through Damian at this point?
Well, I mean, you just should root for a guy that – I mean, you should root for a guy that did, so much for your franchise and tried. I mean, I don't know how you don't root for Damian Lillard if you're a Blazer fan. I just don't understand it. Like to me, it's like, of course you do. He is probably the best player in, franchise history. I mean, fine. There's an argument, right?
I'm kidding. Yeah, it's a top three with different categories. We should do that. We haven't done that debate yet. We should probably tackle that sometime this summer. But anyway, go ahead.
It's a hard one because I know. I mean, I get swayed even on on the GOAT debates. I'm just not. I don't live in that world of holding strong because you can convince me.
Not in the overall GOAT debate.
No, but even Blazers like, well, Bill Walton won a title. Blazers, he was the best player. He had the best season for any player. You're like, right. What's more influential? Which is it more?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Most influential. It's so hard. But
if you chop it up by categories, you can pick either one. Is the thing.
And while the only reason to really dislike a player that played for a decade for you and led you to all these things is if he aggressively asked out in a selfish way.
Like LaMarcus?
Didn't. Yeah, I mean,
like LaMarcus?
If you dislike LaMarcus, I wouldn't. But there's a thing there, right? He and you got nothing for him because he didn't give you he made you feel like you might keep him. You know, so like Carmelo Anthony and Denver, to me, when people are mad at him, I'm like, he gave them a year. Like, he was like, dudes, I am not going to resign. So if you should trade me and get what you can. And Damian Lillard begged them to try to give him a chance to win in Portland. And they said, yeah. And then they drafted Scoot. And he was like, come on now. I'm not idiot. I know no. Now I got to go. And he could have asked out so much earlier. And he didn't.
He should have.
And he basically was like, I'd love to come back, you know, like 2 minutes after he left. I can't wait to come back. You know, like he didn't want to go, you know, and they made it impossible for him to stay. So, and he was great in the community. So I'm all, you know, personally, I've always said to people when people say, well, what kind of guy is that if you covered him or something like that? I go, look, everything I'm going to say to you is about how he dealt with me, and we're not family and we're not really friends in any way. So it doesn't really matter. But for all intents and purposes, Damian Lillard was a great Blazer and a great celebrity for Portland. You know? So I think you root for him. And if you don't, you're weird. To me, you're weird. Yeah, you know, like, why wouldn't you? I mean, unless you hate the Bucks, and who hates the Bucks? You know, like, who are those people?
Right. By the way, I'm wearing this because I'm trying to get psyched for the draft, NFL draft.
Yeah, get psyched. You already got your quarterback.
10th pick. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been I got the 3rd pick, and I'm disappointed because yeah, being a Giant fan, something like let's go back to the NBA where the Knicks have a chance. So I say, I am rooting hard for Damian Lillard, and that's probably why I'm picking the Bucks, because I can't not root. You know, I can't not root for them to win.
I'm with you. All right, let's get to our Blazers position review.
I thought you were going to make us pick the playoffs.
We'll do that last. People don't care about
Okay. I don't want to do that anyway, but we'll do it. All right, let's do some forwards, baby.
You don't want to do it?
It's hard when I have a team. You know what I mean? Like,
you can give me your fantasy pick, and you can give me your if you had to put your life on it. That's all I say. So, you have to put your life on it.
So what I'm saying is, when I have a rooting interest, I put blinders on somewhat. Like, I don't care. I mean, like, I care about the Milwaukee thing because of Detroit. But like,
right, let's just do it now.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't care. I care about one series.
My pick is Boston over OKC. I don't think there's a team in the West that has a chance to beat OKC. Their defense is too good. They got an elite star. They got shooters all over the place. They got guys who can get to the rim all over the place. They're the most complete team. I think Minnesota athletically and with Edwards could maybe make it interesting. Houston's not going to have the scoring, I don't think. The Lakers are not going to get past Minnesota, though. Minnesota's exposing them for what they are. You're led by a 40-year-old.
One game.
No, you're led by a 40-year-old and a guy who can't play defense. You're not going to match up against a team like Minnesota that has rim protectors, shooters, and an elite athletic guard. It's just not a good matchup. So I got OKC getting to the finals. I don't think anyone's going to mess with them. I mean, someone might go 6 with them at best. And then I think they play Boston, and I think OKC has to go through some growing pains, and they lose that series, and Boston gets to repeat.
Yeah, that's just an awful scenario for me. I hate it. I hate everything about what you said. Because that means 2 things. 1, the Knicks didn't go to the finals. And 2,
the Knicks are not going to the finals.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, I know. But, you know, I have a dream.
You can hope. There's nothing wrong with that.
I can't like Boston, even though I like Peyton Pritchard. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't have the same hatred for this Boston teams that I've had in the past. Like, you know, I really hated Larry Bird. I mean, I was a huge Magic fan because anyone that was beating the Celtics was a good thing. I don't know how you beat OKC, you know, when they're playing, unless there's an injury. I mean, I don't understand how. I mean, to dominate the West the way they did, as good as the West is, like we contradict ourselves sometimes because like the West is crazy, it's so good in the competition, and OKC's like, really? Because we tend to beat the crap out of everybody, and by a lot of points, like so. It doesn't seem that hard to us. So I just think if you're picking against OKC, I don't know what you're looking at. Because I don't see a matchup that causes them that much trouble. Because they've just been just a dominant team in a conference that's got so much talent. So, and then the East,
you got OKC over the Knicks. Then we'll just go with that.
Sure, let's go that way. I will say this: we're gonna need some help. That's all I'll say. We're gonna need some help, like some luck, some injuries, Jalen Brunson go 13 for 15, including in a game, including 8 for 10 from 3. We're gonna need that kind of a miracle win in that way. I did see Bernard King at the game the last 2 nights. He is not in the shape we need him to be to come off the bench and perform a miracle. So him and Patrick are both not in the shape we need them to be to win it. So yeah, but I'm not going to pick the East. But there you go. All right, now let's talk some forwards.
All right, so we're going to go through each guy here, and then we're going to give him a grade, and then we're going to talk about the group moving forward. Let's just say incompletes on Justin Minaya and Ryan Repair.
Yeah, because that's what they are.
They didn't play a ton. And City Sissoko as well.
Yeah, I mean we're gonna do guys.
So
guys
yeah, I'm just want to at least mention them. Young developing guys. Repair. They were high on him. He, still only shot 41%, only shot 27% from 3, which is the big question mark with him. He can give you some defense, but the shooting has to improve. It so far has not really. So, and Justin Minaya is a G League guy who played 19 games. Sissoko,
5 minutes
defensively. Defensively, he played 5 games. I can't really.
I'm just saying, if you don't average over 10 points a game, there's no point really discussing you. I mean, I'm just saying,
Donovan
played. He played 20 minutes a game.
Oh, you said 10 points a game.
No, 10 minutes. If I said 10 points, I meant 10 minutes. Okay. Yeah, if you haven't played 10 minutes a game, I was like, what? Donovan?
All right, so let's start with
Landon Donovan.
Let's start with Chris Murray. Chris Murray appeared in 69 games with 6 starts, 15 minutes, shot 42% from the field, 22.5% from 3, 4.2 points, 2.6 rebounds. I'll go first with the grades, and everyone likes this kid. He's a great guy. But I gotta go C-. I think I give him a C- and not lower because he does give effort on defense. He's a smart player. He does the right things. Like Chauncey says all the time, he plays the right way. But the shooting has not evolved. And he worked on his shooting a lot last season. He changed his, he got rid of the dip. He used to dip and then shoot, and he got rid of that. So he would just catch it. It was so noticeable. He'd catch the ball, and then just his arms would go up, and then he'd shoot it, and his body would stay stationary. But it did not necessarily result in improvement. And someone like him, he's not going to be an elite scorer. He's not going to be a Tumani defender, but he can be a solid defender. He's got to be able to hit that 3 because you're not going to go to him offensively for anything else, really. So he's got to be the guy. When he's wide open, he's going to stick that. And his shooting percentages went down. He went from 26.3 threes last year, percent on threes last year, to 22.5. His overall shooting percentage went up a little bit, but 22.5%. I mean, if it was 32.5, I'd have major reservations, but 22.5, So, what's say?
Yeah, I was going to give him a C- because we're nice guys. He's and I don't know. Sometimes I feel like people are like talking to him like he's an underdog, he was a 19th. He was 23rd over. He's a first round pick, 23rd overall. He's 24 years old. He's not a player that you can see having an intricate part of a good team right now because he shoots terribly. He's a terrible 3-point shooter. And while they were better this year, he played less minutes in more games. He averaged 21.7 minutes a game last year. And of course, they were really bad and trying to lose, but he averaged 15 points a game. There were many games he was not, not part of the mix at all. He just doesn't do anything great. And he's a first-round draft pick. And you need more than that.
Too. One they were very excited about, too.
Yeah, that they talked about being at a lottery level, which is, as we've said a million times, a dumb thing to say. Because now you put this pressure on this kid, and he's not a kid anymore. He's 24. He'll be, he'll be 25 in August. So to start the season next year, he'll be 25 years old. When you're 25 and you're averaging, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and shooting under 25%, you're barely in the league.
Right.
So that's where he's at.
All right. Next up, Jabari Walker played 60 games with 1 start. His minutes went from 23.6 last year to 12.5 this year, mainly, of course, because, like you said, they didn't have the injuries they had last year when they were in the season last year. They were playing a bunch of young
Then he
guys
missed a bunch of games because he got hit in the head.
Huh?
He missed a bunch of games with a concussion.
Oh, yeah. But I'm saying his minutes per game last year were a lot more, and mainly because of the situation with injuries and people playing a lot of minutes at the end there when he averaged 8.9 and 7.1. Now, his shooting went up, though, 46 to 51.5 from the field, 29.5 to 38.9, just 1.2 shots per game. But still, he was sticking them.
He could,
right?
Yep.
So there was some, there was some improvement there. I'm going to give him a C for, the marginal improvement, but clearly he wasn't considered good enough by the coaching staff to be a bigger part of the rotation, in part because of the better players in front of him. But if the coaching staff and Billups trusted him enough, he would have played more than 12.5 minutes per game, I believe. But still, average improvement, but not enough to make me think after 3 years that he has a future in the rotation for a good Blazers team.
Yeah, I go see as well. I mean, some of the things you talked about, it's kind of like he's a 2nd-round draft pick. He's 22. He's 6'7". He's an in-between, size. There's a lot of reasons he shouldn't be in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like when he gets his minutes, he performs. For a guy you don't want him to play a lot of minutes, but you expect him to be a 10th man, 11th man on a roster, because 2nd-round picks don't make the league very often. You know what I mean? So right. I give him a C because, he shot 39% from 3, and at 6'7", when you're an undersized 4 that sometimes has to guard 5s, and you can shoot 3s, good for you. You know what I mean? That might keep you in the league for a while. So not a lot to discuss here. Again, they trust him to play because he's a hard worker. He's a high basketball IQ, and he did add something to his game, which he was an abysmal, 3-point shooter. And now, when he had to take him, he shot 39%. And if you shoot 39% from 3, that's better. That's good.
To me,
and he rebounds when for his size, he rebounds pretty well.
Yeah. To me, if he's your 4th forward,
sure.
And if someone gets injured and you got to play him more than you normally would want to, and he gets 20-something minutes and he's a 5th option on the floor, sometimes maybe the 4th, depending on the rotation, I think you're fine because he's going to do a lot of the dirty work for you. He's going to, like you said, rebound. He plays solid defense. And if he ends up wide open behind the 3-point line, he's got a great chance to hit it, especially if that 38.9 is not a fluke. So, yeah, I don't think he's done enough for me to believe, and he's only 22, but to believe that he's going to develop into a rotation player on a good team. But I definitely think he can be depth on a good team.
And that's what you want with your 2nd-round draft picks.
Right.
If you know what I mean?
You can find
you pick a guy 57. Yeah, you pick a guy 57th overall and he sticks on your roster, then that's fine.
Right. Okay, now we get to the meat and potatoes here.
There we go.
Now, wait, let me get my boxing gloves. I'm gonna take this.
I don't know where you're gonna start. By the way,
take this
I have no idea where he's going.
Leonard boxing glove. Get myself ready. All right, let's start with Jeremy. Very polarizing situation with Jeremy. Don't be shaking your head at my boy Jeremy.
No, you started I knew you were going to start one way or the other with this. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's where we're going.
We're going to start with Jeremy. Because I think the other two clearly had better seasons, and I think we're going to agree a lot on those two. The question really is going to be Jeremy in this. All right, so Jeremy, 47 games. Injuries, late injuries in the season were tanking injuries. He could have played, I believe. 14.4 points, 3.5 rebounds. His rebounds actually stayed the same, which is funny considering that's his weakness. But his scoring went down.
Because you're averaging 3.5 as a 4. It's still lower than.
But it stayed the same. It didn't go down.
Okay, I'll give you that.
His points went from 21 to 14.4. His shot attempts went from 15.7 to 12.2. But his shooting percentage, man, he went from 45.1 to 37.3 and from 40.2 from 3 to 36.5. Those are alarming numbers. Now,
yep.
At exiting interviews, he was asked about his future, and he said that's something that he and his representation had to talk to Joe about and try and figure out. But he did add that it's easier going through what he went through when the team's playing better and winning, because he wants to win. And so he's open to, certain discussions in certain situations, especially if he feels like the team's winning. Now, is he going to be open to coming off the bench? I don't know about that. But if that's an option, maybe it's fine if he's still getting 30 minutes. Or, and this is what I think happens if he returns, it's just going to be a competition situation. It's just going to be, okay, whoever's playing best is going to play the most. So if he starts out as a backup, but he gets his shooting numbers up to 48 and 40 again, then he might become a starter again. Because the one thing Chauncey pointed out is that even though his scoring dipped, and what he blamed it on was that they were trying to get away from mid-range shots this year. And that Jeremy kind of feasts on those mid-range shots, and they help him, find his range from deep as well. And they're really trying to cut those down. So Jeremy had to reduce those number of opportunities. And Chauncey believed that impacted Jeremy's overall shooting. But he said the one thing that can't be discounted is his play on defense. And that during their run, when they won 10 out of 11, he had Tumani and Jeremy out there messing with the other team's best two scorers. He's like, Jeremy was huge in that regard. So the offense, I think, can be fixed because I don't think it's broken. I just think there was some adjustment going on there and that he didn't adapt to it well, but that doesn't mean he can't grow into doing things differently next season. But the question and the problem is that in front of him are two guys that, as of right now, you can make the argument are the better two options to start. And they played really well together as starters down the stretch. So for me, the grade on Jeremy is definitely a C-, because you can't shoot under 40% as a scoring forward when you don't rebound, right? You just can't. So I gotta ding him there, but he did give effort on defense, and he's still a good teammate, and he plays hard, et cetera, and he gives you qualities that are good to have, but that shooting has got to be better. So that's why I give him a C.5. A C-, sorry, a C.5. A C.5. I just made up a grade. A C.5.
C.5. Yeah, I'm not going to be as nice.
Come on.
He gets a D. I mean, a
C.
No. Yeah. To me, this is what could have been worse.
He gave you defense. You can't give him a D when he gave you defense.
I sure as heck can, because he's supposed to give me defense. It wasn't that great. He played half the season. A C to me is a guy that if he came in and day one, his value is a certain place, and game 82, it's the same, that's a C. C- means just a little ding. This is a big ding to me. His value is way less for both the Blazers if he were to play, because he doesn't fit necessarily, and also he is not worth getting something back now. He went from we went from discussing like, oh, I think you can get some quality something from him, even though his contract is, and it's not his fault that they gave him that contract, but it's part of my grading system. Like, you got to earn it. You're the highest paid player on the team, and you did not play like a top 5 player on this team. You wouldn't even start today. And you talked about the 2 guys that we're going to talk about that played better than him that are starting. You combine their salaries, they're not even half of what you're making. So that to me is a D, because the value is much less than when you started the season. And he's a year older. He's 31. And so I don't think that means he's a bad teammate. I don't think that means it's all his fault. But offensively, he was horrible. I mean, that's just the guy went from averaging 20 a game efficiently to scoring 7 points less inefficiently. And so I can't do it. I got to go with a D, and those are the reasons why. Again, I'll give a guy a C when his value is the same as when we started. And to me, no one's value other than Robert Williams, because of injuries, decreased more in the league's eyes and the franchise eyes than Grant.
Damn.
I mean, did anything I say there? Is anything I said there crazy?
No, it's all true. I mean, he shot 38% on 2-point attempts, 46.7 effective. I mean, it was a bad year for Jeremy. You made a legit evaluation.
Thank you.
Grading, splitting hairs there. I just not going to go C. I'm not going to go D because the defense was still there, but you're not wrong in going D for yourself. So the question though is, if they can't trade him, or a trade doesn't make sense, or they can't, I still think one of the better opportunities is going to be attaching his contract and Williams' contract to the Bucks 2029 first round pick and 1 or 2 of those swaps, and moving that for a star player that someone wants to move like that. We saw a lot of that at the trade deadline, or similar things. But if he does come back, I do think there's going to be value there, because I do think the offensive numbers will rebound. I think he can approach the offseason differently. He can come in differently, and he can adjust in that regard and get back to where he's a viable offensive threat, shooting 45 and 40, because that's who he is. The year before that, he's 47 and 40. Now people are going to say, well, Tumani and Denny have to start. Well, I still think starting's overrated in that regard, but okay, fine. Start those 2. But there's 96 minutes available at the 2 forward spots. That's 32 apiece. And even if you go 33, 30, and 30, whatever you want to do, it's going to come down to who's playing the best. And I do believe that they have a better chance at making the postseason next year with all 3 than if they move Grant and they don't adequately replace him in that forward mix. So,
yeah, I what you're saying is true. It doesn't make sense to me though to bring, like, he's got to. I mean, for his sake,
I don't think he's
and the team's sake.
Well, why is he? See, I guess I don't agree with that. The gotta go.
Well, first of all, you're going to have another. You'll have another lottery pick.
Yeah, but you don't know what that's
there's
be.
A good chance it could be I mean, at this point, it could be anything, right?
If it's 10 or 11, but if it's 10 or 11, it's not going to be someone worthy of being in the rotation.
I mean, you hope they are. You know what I mean? Like, you hope they are. I'm just saying, but at some point, like, you're gonna run out of, splitting minutes, and you're gonna have to go in a direction. And at 31 years old, Jeremy Grant is not your future. And if your future is just trying to get the play-in or the 8-9, then I think you've made a huge mistake. Like, I don't think that's valuable. So I think the only reason to keep him is because you absolutely would take a bath if you have to get rid of him. And that doesn't usually happen in the NBA. As you just said, there's ways to to figure it out. And unfortunately, the Blazers have sat pat, and it's cost them. In general, guys like Jeremy Grant aren't worth more the longer you have them. I mean, and so to me, go. Because you should have traded him like you should have traded him before the deadline. You should have traded him in the offseason. I mean, Robert Williams should have traded him. You know what I mean? Like, holding on to things because you hope for them to be more valuable in the future doesn't work most of the time, in my opinion. And so I don't see the value in bringing him back and splitting these minutes to win because I don't even think he's better. You know, I don't think he's better right now than Denny and Kamara, like, for the team. He definitely wasn't this year. Now, you're saying if he plays like old Jeremy Grant, 28-year-old Jeremy Grant, but I don't know if he can on this team.
Let's see.
The way it's set up.
But
because the way it's set up.
But we're talking shooting percentages. That unless it's not like he's a pitcher whose ERA ballooned up because he lost 4 miles an hour on his fastball. Like, it's just a matter of feeling comfortable in shooting. You don't lose your shooting touch necessarily like that. So I believe that can absolutely come back. And if you're shooting 45, 40,
I don't doubt
then
it
you're
could
better
come back.
having. Okay, so my point being,
but what I'm saying is, I'd rather play Denny 38 minutes and let him get 7 rebounds and 5.5 assists.
Okay, well, we're gonna get to whether or not Denny should be playing.
But I'm just saying, like, there's the upside of Jeremy Grant on this team is still a forward who doesn't rebound, is not a playmaker, and is just solid. He's solid. I don't think there's a 20-point scorer left in Jeremy Grant on the Blazers, unless they're really bad.
But he doesn't need to be a 20-point scorer. The 20 points can be overrated if the 20 points are coming from nowhere. Right?
Absolutely, but I'm saying
we're talking about
that's why he got paid.
I know. Okay. I think we agree. The only thing we disagree on is if they can find a legitimate trade package, then trade him. We agree. If you can't find a legitimate trade package, I don't think you have to move him to make room for.
So I have a question for you. Do you see any world where Jeremy Grant is an intricate part of this team in even 2 years? On a team that's borderline contending.
The Jeremy Grant we saw this season? No. The Jeremy Grant we saw last season? Yes.
Do you really?
Listen. Here, one of the disconnects between me and you and me and other people is that there's not one player on this roster, not one, that I'm like, oh my God,
you got to keep
this guy's going to lead the Blazers to the promised land. You better make room. You better click. Mm-hmm. You better no. There's not one. So I'm not sitting here going, Denny and Tamari are going to be the starting forwards for a Blazers team that's going to win 50 games. I don't believe that yet. Now, they can be if they are the third and fourth best player on the team. That means you got to find two dudes better. But it's not like I'm sitting there. It's not like we're talking about, two budding, like we're not talking about Boncaro and Wagner. We're not talking about those two. We're talking about Denny and Kamara. Now, Denny and Kamara are still on the rise. Who knows where they're going to go? But that's my thing. So what I'm saying is, if you can't get solid value for him, you bring him back, he definitely is going to help you because assuming he gets back to his old shooting numbers. And then if he does that, then his value definitely does go up because right now it's so low that it can't help but go up if he's playing like he played last year. That's what I'm saying. So I'm not just like, we got to move him no matter what because I got to play Denny 38 minutes. That doesn't make any sense, especially with the injury history with this team. Do I want to play Denny 30? No, why? I'd much rather play him 32, 33, 34. And those other minutes are going to someone like Jeremy if that's how the rotation works out. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, and I hear that. My thought, my belief is Jeremy Grant's value's not going to go up. So and he's not going to be on the team.
So you're saying he's not going to shoot better? That this is who he is now?
I'm just saying that even if he shoots a little bit better on this team, I think the NBA. I think that hoping that's where they've been stuck before. To me, he's not going to be on this team in the future. So you got to trade him.
I see. I don't agree with that.
Well, eventually he's not going. He doesn't line up.
Yeah.
So I feel like you got to. I'm going to be shocked if he makes it through the summer, and I'm also going to be shocked if he wants to. Like if you're him, why would you? And that combination makes me feel like it's time to move on, because I still think there's value there. I think NBA teams think 100% because they're not stupid. They think what you think.
There you go. They're not stupid, therefore they must think like I think. There you go. Good job. That's a great.
But I mean, I'm saying like, so I just don't think that.
Kelly Joy, when you edit that, can you clip that for me and send me that, please?
I just say like, I don't think that he needs to. If he goes up 4%, then he's okay. I think NBA teams are like, this is who Jeremy Grant is, and the value is going to stay in that zone forever. The only thing that helps is less money owed. And I don't know if that's enough, if there's enough value there for them. That's it. I mean, I just think we disagree.
But listen to this part. What is that? Do you see
like grabbing them? That's my face.
Oh shit! Now I messed it up even more.
All right, come on. You'll fix your thing later. We can sit here.
Well, no, there's something on the screen, but I thought it was something on the camera. Anyway, okay. So here's the danger. So let's say you trade Grant, and it's not a great package. Like you're just moving to move. You go in next. Denny's smart. Sorry, who's your backup? Who's the backup?
I don't care. I don't care at that point.
But you gotta care because next year you're not tanking. You're trying to win. And so if you go into next season without a backup forward, legitimate one, and that costs you games, and then, heaven forbid, because it never happens to the Blazers, Tumani misses 20 games and Denny misses 20 games. Oh, whoops. Wish you could have had Jeremy Grant starting instead of the guys we just talked about, Murray or Walker. So, yeah, if you move Jeremy, but you have another plan at forward, you go out and you spend a mid-level chunk of money on someone who comes in who gives you good, solid, backup minutes and can start in spots. Great. But if you don't do that, you're going to get into a point where you're going to miss having Jeremy Grant there. And it's going to cost you games and maybe cost you the difference between hosting in the play-in or being on the road in the play-in or what have you. That's all I'm saying. You have to think like that now, too. You have to think in terms of what's going to help us win because they're through the window of we're going to blatantly tank. They can't just – if they blatantly tank next year, I would trash them from here to eternity because you should have done that this year when you had a chance to get Cooper Flag, not next year. Next year's draft might be good too, but my point is don't not blatantly tank this year and then, we're going to do it next year. You still have to make moves that keep giving you a chance to be competitive and win. Unless you adequately replace Grant, you should keep him unless you can get a good deal for him. That's all I'm saying. All right, we talked way too much. All right, let's move on to the other two forwards that you clearly want to praise and call the next Dr. J and Larry Bird, and that'll be Denny and Tumani. All right, let's save Denny for last, just because.
Okay,
all right, Tumani.
You want to.
Listen, you got to give the kid an A. Now he's not an A player, but you got to give his grade for his improvement and growth.
Yes.
Yeah, his improvement and growth. He absolutely grew leaps and bounds this season. He not just defensively, but his shot. He went from last year's like I don't know how many times like he's not gonna make that to this year. There was a few times earlier I was like, no way. To the point where I got, he's about to sink that. He took some. He took some threes too. Where, more confident, and he took some threes too where, he was able to move away from the wide ass open three, right? To the there's a guy closing on me, or there's a guy on me, but I'm gonna rise up above him because I'm 6'7" and I got long arms, and I'm gonna sink this. And so he became that dude as well. So, and the rest of his so-called bag is evolving, and he doesn't force it. Chauncey talked about that during the season. How the thing about Tumani is he's not out there trying to be Anthony Edwards. He knows who he is, and he's just adding things as he goes to help his offense evolve. So he went from 45% last year to 45.8 from the field, which isn't a huge jump. But still,
his numbers aren't going to blow you away, but he eye test will.
Right. He went from 33.7 though to 37.5% from three. That's huge.
Yep.
His effective went from 51.6 to 55.2. Rebounding went up to 5.8. Assists went up a little bit. And his points 7.5 to 11.3, which is the product, of course, of more shots. He went from 6.3 shots to 9.2. But his overall offensive efficiency went up. But he's probably going to be all defensive team. I put him on the second team in my vote. Clearly, he wasn't going to be a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, but I would be shocked at this point he didn't make second team at worst. So, yeah, I give the kid an A. He is the poster child for the 3-and-D guy. You know, I mean, 6'7", long, athletic, can defend almost every position except center, and he can even bother centers at least for a little bit. And he's gonna drain that three for you. And he's athletic; he can finish on the break. He's a complete 3-and-D kid who's only in his second season, so a definite A.
I give it an A too, and all the things you said on offense, and who cares? Because defensively, he's a monster. You know, I mean, and he's a pest. And, you know, the league embraced him for a reason. Like you heard Tamani. A, props to the Blazers communications strategy and department to really focus on the correct questions and make sure they're asking other coaches and other players about Tamani, because sometimes if you don't ask the right questions, you don't get that information. And when NBA players and coaches are telling you that they're focusing on him because of his defense, that's the real deal. And he led the league in charges. Just everything that he did was what you'd want from him. It's the questions we had going in. Leaving last season, you're like, well, he's definitely a good defensive player, but can he do enough on offense to be a starter? And you're like, yes, he can. You know, questions answered. And he's not a young pup, but he's still young enough to keep growing on both ends. And when you said that Chauncey says like he knows who he is, I've said this before. My favorite statistic is that he dunks. His shots are at the rim or from three. Like he knows like, hey, that's what I'm doing. I'm 3-and-D and I can dunk. And some dunks are pretty massive. And that's huge, right? Because there are guys that think they can do things they can't. He does not. He's like, you know, I'm not gonna dream shake you here. You know, I'm gonna pass it. It's a dunk? I'll take it. Aggressive, confident, A. Agreed.
Okay. That was easy. All right. Moving on to Danny Avdia. All right. He had a nice year. He had a nice year. The question for me I have is, okay. First of all, my grade is not an A for Denny because we're grading the entire season. Okay, so my grade for Denny is a B, leaning B plus. A B plus, somewhere in there. Definitely not an A. The reason, again, we're grading the entire season, right? So my grade is a B, leaning B plus. I can't go A because we're grading the entire season. He started off weekly, and then he kicked it into high gear. Now, the last 22 games of the season that he played, 50% from the field, 41.5 from three, averaged 22.5 points, 9.3 rebounds, 5.1 assists. That guy all season, if that was his season numbers, I'd give him an A plus. But those weren't his season numbers. His season numbers were down, actually. So he went from 50.6% last season with the Wizards to 47.6 from the field this year, 37 from three to 36. His points went up slightly, 14.7 to 16.9 because his shot attempts went up a little bit. Rebounding about the same, 7.2 to 7.3. Assists about the same. So he's pretty much the same guy all season long, which when I gave you the numbers for the last 22 games, his numbers must have been pretty mediocre the first 50 games, right? Because he played 72 in order for them to equate to what they were last year or be less than last year. So that's why I'm not giving him an A for the season. So my question moving forward, though, is I know everyone was all geeked up about how he performed late, but also late, guys were out. Aiden was out. Williams was out. Ant missed some time. So there's shots available, there's rebounds available, things available that he's not necessarily going to have the opportunity to get next season. So are we going to see 22, 9, and 5 from this guy next year? Or is he going to be 15, 5, and 6, which is what he's been the last 2 seasons, counting the one last year with the Wizards? If he's just that guy, there's another reason why I'm not giving away Jeremy Grant, because Denny may not be the guy to pick up all that slack like he was the last 22 games. We just don't know.
So I gave him an A-. And my thought is that, first of all, he averaged 2 points more than he did last year. He averaged the same amount of rebounds, but that's at 7 rebounds. The same amount of assists, which is just under 4. His turnovers are almost at 3, which is, that's just too many. So I will say that all this it's proof of concept, in my opinion, that he's a starting forward in the NBA, and a good one. And I get you. The beginning was ugly, new team, whatever. But I also putting some intangibles in there: his aggressiveness, his feistiness, his ability to be coached. And those things get me to an A-. Also, because we're grading on a Blazers curve. You know what I mean? Like, in the sense that, what's the best story of the year? And to me, the 2 best stories of the year are Tomani and Denny. And so I did, I thought, to be honest, that I was being, it was hard for me not to give the A, but I took out the emotion from it. And I felt like, no, Tomani's the rock solid, straight across. No, but the same thing. It's not like Kamara's raised his game to all-star level, but he proved it's proof of concept. Like, yes, I'm a 3-and-D guy who can start. And I think Denny's an all-around player that can play at an all-star level at times. Do I think he's a consistent all-star yet? Absolutely not. Would I be shocked if he's an all-star? I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be surprised. I don't think he's an all-star level player, but I think he's right below it. I think he's going to, and because he rebounds and passes the ball better than, he's the best forward playmaking forward the Blazers have had in forever.
Since Pippen?
I'm just saying, right?
Yeah.
And that means something to me.
Batum did a little.
Yeah, the team was more of a 3 than a 4, and I think that Denny's a 4 doing that. The league was different, but no one. He gets triple doubles. The Blazers don't get triple doubles from forwards.
Hey, he did do that.
You wrote about it.
Numerous times. So I absolutely believe that he came in like this, and then he's been going like that. He had a little bit of a dip, and I think that trajectory is gonna. I don't know if he's gonna be 22, 9, and 6 next season, but I think he's gonna pick up, and it depends on the people around him, right, and what's available and what isn't. But I think he's gonna pick up as someone who's a threat to be that. He may be 19, 8, and 5 or whatever, but you want good efficiency. The points per game increase is directly tied to the free throws. He went from 3.6 a game to 5.2, 2.37 makes to 4, and his points went up 2.2, and his free throws made went up 2.3. That comes from him attacking the basket, right, and doing the things Billups wants him to do. So having matured and grown in that area so much, and then now having the summer coming in, knowing this, I can do this, as opposed to, wait, Chauncey wants me to do what? It's just going to allow him to take things to, I think, a different level. So I do think he's on a trajectory. I'm being a little pessimistic with some things I said.
And he's 24.
And he's only 24, exactly. And he plays with heart. He plays with determination. He plays to compete. He wants to win. He cares. He's a vocal leader. I'm running out of fingers. He gets on people. Yep. You saw that early in the season. He was looking at people sometimes like, what are you doing?
Right.
And I was like, whoa, he's new here. He can't be doing that. But he was doing it because They won 21 games last year. Well, you only won 15. Still, we all suck. We all should be in each other's grills and getting on each other for playing good basketball. And so he gives you that too, because that's something they do not have on the roster. It's someone who's going to get in your face, have credibility doing so, and bring it because he wants to win. So I like the trajectory. He's definitely the number one forward. Tumani's number 2. I think you bring back Grant as 3 if you can't trade him. But I do like where they are. They still need a star. I don't know if Denny's going to be an all-star, but he's definitely going to be someone I believe can be CJ level at some point.
Fair enough.
Damn, you couldn't see you couldn't even come back with anything that was so solid.
Well, I mean, we were a half a grade apart. Let's be honest. Like the difference between a B plus and an A minus is like depending on where you went to school, it's the same grade.
All right, let's start over. They blew it. They should have kept Bub Carrington. Horrible trade. What say you, Greg? No, I'm kidding. All right, I think we're good. That's a good long podcast. We'll come back next time. We're not going to sure with who we're going to come back with, these centers or forwards. We'll see. We'll talk more about James, see how he does. But that's it for this episode of the Blazer Focus Podcast.